Okay, I think we're live. Go ahead and get working. Welcome everybody. Finishing up AQ or EQ here. Okay, so this is just a bunch of cosmics. Cosmics with lots of buffs. MODOK at the end. Simple enough. Maybe we have enough power here. I haven't played with Adam in a while. Let's do that. Hey, please, how's it going, man? In case Cat shows up. It's not necessarily why, but it doesn't hurt. Man, that power gain with the Intensify really starts cooking. More interested to see how I use Nova. Not sure I like his playstyle. I mean, that's understandable. Nova is pretty objectively good because he's strong. But from a design standpoint, I think he has one significant flaw, and I've talked to his designer about this, right? I think the biggest problem with Nova is that you are managing two primary resources with his kit, and they have the same triggers. His power and his charges are like the key to everything else or scale with everything else. And both of them go up on dashes. And that makes thematic sense, but I don't think you have enough tools to really control the two relative to each other for it to feel smooth. It's a tricky problem to solve, but I think it is completely fair to have trouble with Nova. Well, that's stuff. Evening, KJ. Sir. Yeah, this is overkill. Hey, AJ. Speaking of Nova, I'm psyching myself to go get my butt handed to me by him again. Where in particular? I'm trying to remember a big Nova. Hey, Neos. It's not very nice, Carolina. Sidesteps are for jerks. Okay, we can just do it not baiting a special at all the entire time. That's also fine. I guess we did bait one. I'm not used to seeing a hyphen in the middle of salt water. Ah, okay. Who are you using? Kushala? I have an AW planning question that's been perplexing me. Who would we send to MODOK on node 36? Valkyrie would probably be our first choice. Cheelth is also fine. There are others that can do it. Those would be my top two. Ah, using Mojo. Gotcha. I mean, I understand the falter there plays against Mojo a little bit, but my personal suspicion is you probably just need to chill your way to special threes a little bit more often. Oh yeah, no, I constantly have energy overflowing and I sell a ton of it. I've said this before. I think that that players badly overreacted to the energy changes, and that led to us also overreacting. And I think the energy economy is significantly too generous at the moment. Yeah, Zemo's another very good one. Zemo just is great for MODOK in general because of the non-contact medium. Basically means the parry doesn't exist if you play it right. Unfortunate. Come on, Cat. You know me. I like to diversify. I used Medusa earlier, and I will again. Not against Bong. But that Iron Patriot looks like a likely target. Whoops. I don't know why I did... That was weird. Okay, no, I didn't do a combo ender. He just surprised me. I get it. I mean, he's got weird animations. He stops combo enders, which bricks half of your favorite champions. I always forget about this frickin' auto block node because there's nothing on the HUD. Oh, I'm sorry about this Medusa gameplay, cat. There we go. Yeah, there's nothing on the HUD to remind me, and so I just always end up triggering it, because who reads nodes in EQ? Obligatory disclaimer, if you are having trouble with Event Quest, you should absolutely be reading the nodes. Hey, Iceful. I'm 2k T5A away from the next rank 5, and if I do the current EQ as a Valiant, which is enough to rank 5, and then I'll be Elder, so am I allowed to go back for Elder AQ after that? No, you will be missing out on those. But like honestly that's fine because get Elder and have it set up for next month. We're deep enough into the month that that's probably the way to go. I don't know what other sources of tier 5 alpha there are other than paying. But yeah, when you enter EQ, your rewards are locked. Genius among geniuses. I think MODOK has to have a silly voice. I'm guessing... I mean, I shouldn't assume. Do you have Radiance to spend, Lol? Because KJ is right. I tend to assume that if people have Radiance and it would solve their problems, that they've already looked at the store, but that's probably not the safest assumption. Yeah, Bleezy. It's too quick. Like, I don't... I feel like I always need to caveat this, that, like, I am not saying that EQ needs to be harder for everybody. But it should absolutely be harder for me, given that this is the highest possible difficulty of the mode. Like, if you look at my prestige, it is 100% SIG 200 rank 4s. It is over, like, 90% ascended rank 4s or better. And I finished one of these fights baiting a single special in about 35 seconds with a rank 3. That is undertuned. Like, just objectively undertuned. Yeah, exactly, Bleezy. I can't comment on that, KJ. We're aware, is I think what I can say. I don't remember the exact details right now, Jay, for your question about what about energy got changed, but there were a number of overlapping things. There was the intent to deprecate Elder's Marks, which obviously didn't happen, and so, in my opinion, that basically fully solved the problem. We didn't deprecate Elder's Marks, so we didn't need to also boost energy. Um, and I think it would have been fine if the changes to the daily and weekly events had included less energy because we just clearly have more than we're supposed to. Um, but people were complaining that they relied on that energy to play Battlegrounds for endless amounts of time, and so the team responded by giving them more energy. We were also going to make a change to the green crystals to pull the energy drops out of those, which would actually have, in my opinion, just been a straight upgrade for everybody. Because the economy team could have looked at the green crystals and gone, okay, that doesn't constitute mountains of extra energy that we have to worry about in our tuning. And players would have been able to go, cool, the green crystals are just potions and revives now. That's what the vast majority of us look at them as anyway. I thought that was just a clear universal win, but people will literally complain about anything. And unfortunately, we listened to them there, and so the change to the green crystals didn't happen. And so there is all of this energy, and the thing that players often miss is that whenever we concede something like this, and we end up, like, we end up not making something a true resource, because I think it's fair to say right now energy is not a true resource. It's not meaningfully limited for the vast majority of players. That comes at a cost, because it means that if a future game mode could have been gated by energy, that's no longer an option, and we will have to gate it in some other way that probably will annoy the same people complaining about the energy change. Like it's a very like I don't know if anybody said this before. It feels too fundamental for me to be coming up with, but like you're familiar with the idea of the conservation of matter, right? Like matter can neither be created nor destroyed; it just changes form. The same thing is true for tension in game design, in my opinion. Like the tension that you're feeling can't really be created or destroyed. It will just change form. It's the same way that I feel about like overpowered champions. It's like anything that you are clinging on to because you think that it is giving you an advantage when we are telling you it is too much of an advantage and we would like to change it. If you hold on to that for dear life, you're not actually helping yourself in the long run. You are just moving the tension to a different spot. But that's not something that we're going to get across to the vast majority of players, unfortunately. Exactly, Cat. Yeah, Blue Marvel does not get to stretch his wings in EQ right now. Yeah, that's probably true, Neos. Hey, Dragonfly. I've asked others but was wondering if I thought it was worth it to do Wheel of Fate for just the Deathless piece. If it's the last one you need, yes. If you're already Elder, then you probably have the roster to do it pretty profitably. Like it obviously depends on exactly how large your roster is and what your skill level and comfort with various options is. So like I don't want to say that it should be easy, but it should be doable, right? Assuming that you're like at a decent skill level, you probably have the roster to take most of the fights in 0 to 1 revives, and there might just be a couple that you have to struggle with. Who's left? Not me. And many of you have heard me complain about this. In my opinion, the single largest problem with Nova is that intercepting is bad for him. It shouldn't be bad for him. And I realize that's somewhat subjective. Some people are perfectly happy with parry, dash back, dash in. But in my opinion, that's not the fantasy of Nova. I feel like he should be dashing to intercept. Hey Alice, only piece of content I've done initial run of Epic of Pain, and one run for the Heroes Creative Challenges, which destroyed my resources. Necro seems monumental task. The other Creative seems super tough. I play here with rank 5, rank 4 comp. Yeah, there's tough. I don't know how general my advice can be for you because these kinds of things do vary. I think my primary recommendation would probably be to keep working on 9.4 and turn the completion into exploration. That's probably going to be the best bang for your buck for a while. That should also help broaden out your roster, and then you can start looking at the others. I understand that Necropolis feels big, but that would probably be where I would go next, right? Because simply it's older. It was built to highlight 7 stars, and so you are probably going to feel like you are at an advantage doing it relative to a lot of the streams that you find of people doing it when it was released. Oh, okay. So when you said completion, you meant 100%. Okay, cool. Then I would probably look at Necropolis. The thing with all of those other pieces of content that you described, Epic, Necro, and the Karina's challenges, is just planning. Like, check out streams, scroll through them, see how people did, and my first and foremost, go to Simula's channel and look at his planning sheets for Necropolis and for the Karina's challenges, because I think those are the best resources for getting through that. It is monumental if you do the whole thing all at once. Excuse me. But it's not that bad if you're looking through the fights with your roster and you solve it like a puzzle first, and then you just go and you are executing on your puzzle, if that makes sense. And thanks for the follow. Hey, WayJ, welcome. Hey, Harry, welcome back. Kat says, wait, I'm not supposed to be intercepting with him? No, you are not. That is, again, I think the biggest problem with Nova, because let's take a look at this real quick. Passively generate over time, blah, 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 blah. This is it. While dashing forward, Nova generates additional Nova charges. More charges are generated the further he travels. And it's the same thing with his SIG. Based on the distance traveled in the last executed dash, gain up to that much attack. If you intercept the opponent, it means that you are, by definition, not traveling as far because they crossed some of that distance themselves with their own animations. Intercepting is always a net loss for Nova relative to parrying, dashing back, and dashing in. And your surprise is, like, it's exactly my point. I feel like that is a failure on the fantasy of what the character is supposed to do. And so if we ever take another look at Nova, which is tricky, I'll get to that in a minute. If we ever take another look at Nova, that's the thing I want to fix. Is making it so that, like, sure, distance traveled is good, but intercepting at least makes up for it. That it still feels like a success. Okay, now to get to the thing that almost derailed me because ADHD is a problem. Nova is a really good illustration, in my opinion, of the difference between like champion design and champion balance. They are very closely linked in many, many ways. And so I don't want you to take what I'm about to say as a shot at the balance team in any way. That's not how I mean it. It's more just like we are responsible for different things. Nova, in my opinion, is a character who needs changes from a design standpoint. I think his design is not as cohesive as it should be. I think things like we just discussed with the intercept non-bow, as we like to say, need to be changed because the design would make more sense. But that is not the same thing as saying that Nova needs a buff. I think objectively he is strong enough. The numbers are such that you can find very good success with Nova. There are people getting very competitive times with him in Celestial fights and battlegrounds, right? Like, the numbers are fine, but the design, in my opinion, needs some massaging. And that puts us in a weird spot because the player expectation is that if we change a character, they have to get stronger, right? Not just objectively, not just on net, they have to get stronger everywhere. No nerf, only buff. Numbers have to go up across the board. And so that makes it really difficult to mess with somebody like Nova, because if you make that intercept change that I'm describing, there's probably not room to do it without something else coming down. And that is... But maybe someday. Is there a champ that I rediscovered because of Ascension? I don't know. I mean, probably. I never really played with Hitmonkey before. Now I have him and it feels stupid not to use him, so I've been playing a bit more with him. Definitely had not played Spot or White Tiger in a while, so I guess you can point to them. Emma got buffed, so it doesn't really feel the same, but I've been playing a bit more with her. Like, yeah, I'm just having a grand old time. Like, I've always loved rarity resets, right? I've always loved the, like, okay, your existing characters are going to hold on for years from here, but we're going to start over, and we're just going to give you good reasons to try new stuff, right? And I realize that this is a different types of players thing. Like, I've been playing Slay the Spire 2 recently a lot, and my favorite thing to do is click random character and hit go, right? I just want to try things. Whereas I know a lot of people want to find their lane and do that over and over and over again. And so, like, that kind of player tends to really not enjoy rarity resets because they're like, well, now it's going to be a long time until I can get my thing going again. And so I feel for that. But, like, yes, that is that part of Ascension, the part that makes it closer to what 8 stars would have been, is actually the part that I enjoy a lot. Yeah, exactly, Kat. I totally get it. It's an easy mistake to make with Nova. I do have Aegon, but that route seems tough and revive costly. Yes, I think you only do Aegon and Necropolis if you don't want to plan, if you do want to revive through it. And so if you're worried about your resources, I don't think that's the way to go. I think the way to go with Necropolis is to really just go through the fights one by one and try and pick 5 characters that can solve all of them on a path. And use some kind of planning spreadsheet. That's why I mentioned Sims. You can use what other people have done as a reference, but also, yeah, a lot of new characters have come out that are very good for it. Like, if I did an Acropolis run from scratch right now, I'd probably be using Serpent more. I would definitely be using Blue Marvel. There's stuff in there he'd be fantastic for. Like, I'd be using North Star where I could. And none of those were out when I did it the first time. Yeah, knowing if they're viable is tough or not, but I think that is where you can really leverage streamers, right? Like, asking content creators, hey, how do I do this piece of content, is almost always going to be a dead end because there's so many factors. But asking content creators like, hey, do you remember this specific fight in this piece of content? As a reminder, here are the nodes. Do you think this champion would be good for it? That's the kind of puzzle we love to answer, right? We love to give our opinions there. So my recommendation would be go ahead and start the planning. And then ask people for those kinds of clarifications if you don't feel like you have a community who can do that. Matt. There we go. That was really funny. I can honestly say that as I've progressed in the game with a bigger roster, my opinion on champions shifted from good to bad to useful in some situations to useful in others. Absolutely, yes. Objectively, almost all the champions are really good, just useful in different ways. Yeah, I think that is one of the biggest possible level ups that you can make in this game. That, like, there are some stinkers, right? Like, yes, in a vanilla fight, Drax has pretty good bleed damage, but let's be real, he's a stinker. There are some true F tiers. Iron Patriot, Groot, there are some champions you should not be using. And then there's some real D tiers that are just normally not worth it. Like, they're okay, but they're normally not worth it. I'm thinking characters like Psylocke, right? But then the vast majority of champions are somewhere in between A and C, and the distance between A and C is not that large. It just really isn't objectively. And there are a lot of people, like content creators, who literally make money exaggerating that difference and telling you to focus on the A's because the C's aren't worth it and it is far away, right? Like, and I'm not saying everyone who does tier list stuff is doing that, but a lot of them are. And it's fun in discussion to kind of exaggerate those differences and go like, oh no, this is a goat, that's trash. But like, objectively, we've done a lot of good design work in this game. I really don't think there's that much difference between the 95th percentile and, let's say, the 30th. I love that cat. Go, Matt. Thanks, cat. There's a reason I only went up to 95 or 95th percentile and A KJ and not A plus and 99.9 percentile. There are absolutely outliers on the top, right? But it's also important to any productive discussion to acknowledge them as outliers. And in my opinion, it's also important to acknowledge them as a little bit unhealthy, right? Like, you are not doing anything but burning oxygen, telling people that Daredevil Hell's Kitchen doesn't do as much damage as Okoye. Congrats. Thumbs up. Thank you. That's why I don't like tier lists for this game, especially after I saw Miguel and decent tier ones. Yeah. Miguel is so good. Yeah, I'm glad I'm glad that's been your experience, man. It's honestly one of my favorite things in the game. It's very similar to like as a teacher in other areas, the moment that makes teaching worth it is when people get it, right? When it clicks. Um and I would say in this game one of my favorite things is people it clicking why a character is actually good. Okay. Where is Sims Planner? I know it's in here somewhere. You know what? So I don't completely derail the stream, I'm gonna go ahead and send you this. I'm gonna keep calling you Atlas unless you correct me. I think I saw when it showed up lowercase that was an I, not an L, but up to you. I realize that may have just been getting a name that was already taken. But if any of my mods do know specifically where Sims Necropolis Planner is and can find that, let me know and we can narrow it down for Atlas. Do I think there will ever be Deathless Ascensions? Yeah, I think that's definitely in the cards, right? That's just also very much the kind of thing where, like, we'd save it for an event or something, right? I think we even said explicitly when we were planning out Ascensions, like, these are not characters that are going to go in the base pool. Played for almost 3 years now, only been getting into the community properly the last year or so. Yeah, I think that's a pretty common story. Excuse me. This community gets pretty deep. And you can enjoy yourself without really jumping in for a long time. Okay, then what are you looking for, Potato Head? That's really funny, Cat. I'm sorry. Uh, Look at MODOK just waiting out the timer here. Man, I wish he had parry. Okay. We did not need to be that aggressive, but I wanted to see if he could close it out. Zemo and Sandman have become my most used champs after Ascension dropped? Heck yeah. I still haven't gotten Zemo Ascended yet, which is very annoying to me. Sandman I do have. I think he's ranked 3 at the moment. He'll go up before too long, but I just gave him Sigs the other day. Some C-Mine. Woof. Do I get to see what champs would be like at 7-star? I can if I want to. I don't spend much time on it. But, like, all things are possible on the dev server, right? Like, I can attack with a Bahamut if I want to. That was actually literally part of Deathless Thanos' design process, was using the Gauntlet Thanos boss with their kit stripped out, just to see, like, hey, these animations were designed for a boss, not for a player. Do they hold up? Because that's a problem, right? Like, I think a lot of players don't fully understand that when they ask for bosses to be made playable, is that the art process for a boss and what a good animation set looks like is just different than it is for a player. And so oftentimes they just might not work. So we had to look at that. But by that I mean to say, like, the rules are just not quite the same on the dev server. Our data structure is set up so that what is enabled is different there than it is after dev. And so yeah, I can. Like, I could tomorrow go in and get like a 7-star rank 6 A11 Quake, which is kind of a misnomer because we haven't finalized what Ascension level 11 would even mean. But like, if I just plot out the logical conclusion of what the stats currently are and assume we don't change them, I could test that tomorrow. And it would be silly, but also, like, what would it tell me? Half of that is just attack rating high. Hey, Jethro. What are my thoughts on Dr. Bong? I think he's great. He's got some, like, niche but very useful utility, really solid damage. His loop is pretty protected. And... Sorry, the notification derailed my train of thought. And I think overall, he's a really good example of what that particular designer, Kabam State, does best, which is just simple, clean, fun. Like, I think more than almost anybody else on the team, his gift is taking a wacky idea and building a focused, tight kit around it. Next time you're in Vancouver, Cat, we could probably arrange that. Okay, this one was never changed, was it? It's still remove all poison effects, not all not all poison effects, not all non-personal poison effects. Thanks for the follow. 3 Valiant Crystals got a 7-star. Nice. Well, very old reference. I don't get that reference. Want to get another High Evo Ascension to get the A2, hoping to get Black Panther. Yeah, I haven't gotten High Evolutionary or Black Panther at all yet. They're pretty high on my list. You mean the synergy with Medusa that Cat never leaves home without? Yeah, I think that one is assumed for her testing. Gotcha. Okay, Sandman's still ranked 2 for now. We'll get him up before too long. I was hoping he would close that distance. Apparently not. Yep, that'll do. Iron Man is super tanky. Will I try to get first appearance wave? Probably not. I tend to selfishly hold my units for my own characters and wait for everybody else's in the Titans for the most part. He's not a bad one, King. Yeah. There's some complexities there that, like, we talked about him. There's some complexities that kept him out of the original pool, but yeah, he'd be a decent one for sure. Jerk. I don't think Omega Red's an early pick. I think a lot of people that haven't really perfected Omega Red in High Tier War don't really understand how cracked he is. Omega Red's a cool character, and I understand that he basically needs a synergy to function, which is unfortunate, but very, very Quake adjacent. Didn't even go through the whole thing. Bluntly, Viv is too much of a nuke for this point in the process. I like Viv a lot. Way too fast for this early. Dang it. Hold on. I want to see how this fight actually goes, and like nothing is actually hard here, so I just need to push him to the first special one and wait. We'll see on Quake. Like, I definitely want to rework her into something that actually looks like a kit. I think it's too soon to really declare the magic experiment a success or a failure, or to decide how much it is, either one. But like, it definitely says something that Magic launched as strong as she did, and there were still so many complaints that we had ruined her. I just said that we didn't want nukes, Cat. You're asking for Medusa? No, White Tiger's a good pick. We have at least one rank 5 in the Alliance so far. Yeah, no, the new magic animations are very cool. Whoops. Didn't even get to see how big the burst was. Cute cat. Whoops. Okay, I gotta stop dexing early with Lizard. Not helping anything. Other than that, that was working. Can you try that again, Jack? I'm not fully following your train of thought. No, degeneration is not energy damage, correct. Excuse me, I heavy charged. Ah, okay. I don't fully agree with that, Jack. Like, the old kit was characterized by very high skill as well. I figured that's what you were getting at. I don't know. I mean, it's part of the experiment. We could maybe make a different choice next time, but in my opinion, literally what defined the old magic kit was that you had to be skilled to get really good results with it. Like, the delta wasn't maybe as high as it was for Quake, but that's how a lot of people justified it. Well, like, well, I can't do it, so it's fine. And I don't know. I think the fact that she launched with a very powerful kit that not everybody could play felt appropriate to me. I do think if it was my job, I wouldn't have gone as far, but it didn't strike me as wrong personally. I forget which fight that's for, KJ. Whoops. Okay, we're taking the plasma. Oops. That's fine. Oh, nice cat. I hope you enjoy her. Yeah, like I honestly, as somebody who mained Magic back in the day, right? Like I had probably a full year where I ran Magic with half recoil and Hyperion with the other half recoil for like every war for the whole year. I played her my credentials are set when it comes to old school Magic. There was skill involved with the sidestepping you needed to do, with the wake up intercepts, with making sure that you weren't at the whim of the AI, right? But it was like all execution skill. It was all mechanical skill, and the actual gameplay was very boring, in my personal opinion. The new Magic is tough, and I don't feel like I have her fully set either. But I think it's like tactical skill and not just execution skill. And so personally, I find that a bit more interesting. And so I am looking forward to playing with her a bit more, if that makes sense. I also agree with Kat. Like if you're not doing anything right with the new Magic, she definitely feels terrible. But you don't have to be doing the super fancy stuff you see on YouTube for her to be good. Welcome, okay. Alright, let's see if I can actually get a clean lizard fight in. Okay, that was plenty clean. Our opponent was also far too small. I mean, it's basically all free, okay? I understand you mean that you're probably not using Radiance, but Radiance is not money. Yeah, I think that makes sense, Jack. Like something like this, right? Like EQ is the perfect place to use her. Maybe you don't have her at rank 4 or whatever, but you have her at rank 2 or rank 3. Bring her out, use her until she runs out of health. You'll get better with her. I don't think I would say that, Magnus. I think Lizard is intentionally a pretty middling to weak vanilla defender, but he was designed with defense in mind. It was very intentional that he would pop off and not be like a 5 out of 5, but be dangerous on certain defensive nodes. So he was intentionally given hooks like that. And so part of that was the making the retribution matter on defense. And he's the same dev as Destroyer, so he basically just repurposed the same mechanic from Destroyer's Special 1 as an easy way of making it matter on defense, if that makes sense. I haven't tried that punish before. That worked well. Took your tomb up. Nice. I like the way they wrote wave. Cool. Does Ghost Rider have energy resistance now? I realized I don't actually know. Oh. Totally messed up the intercept there. That's okay. There we go. Alright, one more. I think I saw a Green Bull doing magic around here is an excellent deep cut. Hey, Cyber. Yeah, those streams are fun. Yeah, I should practice with Frank. This is a good place to do it. Tuma's so good, dude. And like, it's worth noting, he doesn't even really ramp properly in EQ because his thorns are base attack only. And so you're only seeing him get some of the benefit that others do. Although with that in mind, it also means that he is not as vulnerable to inequity as people sometimes think. Hey, Jaeger. Whoops. Sorry, that's what I need. Whoops. That's fine, I knew that was a risk. There's the disorder. I mean, this is one way to play Hitmonkey to have his stuff up, but this was not what I was going for. I think I need a nap. I went tier 5 cat. Rank 4s I feel like are relatively easily obtainable these days, as long as I'm patient with Essentia and sometimes Radiance. Awakening gems I feel like I'm constantly swimming in. If you feel very strongly differently, then that one could be the one. But I feel like I have enough. Um, Whereas tier 5, even though it's not a ton, that's precious. Thor's is not a full rebuild, if that's what you're asking. No, there's not like brand new animations and that kind of thing. But it's a pretty significant rework to the kit. Buenas tardes, Jaime. Bienvenidos. All right, I think use Jabari. There we go. Hunt for the anti-miss. Like no ramp. Kind of like the new blades. Kind of. Stellar Forged are a little different, but yeah, that's... Cheeto is a very funny username. Thanks for the follow. But yeah, somewhat similar. Loki rework when? Loki's a dangerous one. Copy buffs is so problematic. Like, I think a lot of people think that we're careful with it out of concern for it being too powerful. And there's an element of that. They're not fully wrong. But there's also just copy buffs plays really poorly with a lot of modern buffs. And it would just, everything would feel broken. Yeah. In my opinion, if Loki gets reworked at some point, I would want to pull things out of his copy buffs and make it closer to the way that, like, Spidey Supreme works, where he copies specific buffs, or, like, Sigil Witch, right? I think those are much healthier ways to use it. And then... Oh, thanks for this upward, Tito. And then I would like to see him, like, lean more into the Frost Giant stuff. Like, he's already got the ice, right? It's very clearly Jotun Loki under there, right? We're doing that part of it. And so I want to see, like, maybe Cold Snap and Mystic. That would be pretty unique. I'm not sure there's really many targets for it, but there could be. But, like, I think that would be neat. And then I would love to at least see a bunch of Frostbite in the kit, right? He needs to have Frostbite immunity, like Cold Snap immunity. That makes sense. I want to see somewhere in between those, right? Like, pull something out of the buff immunity and put it into the Frost. Thanks for the follow, Spicy Papaya. Pull the skill 4 to 5 and use it to take Mr. Knight all the way up. That was definitely overkill. I bet it was. I bet you, like, never ramped the Furies with the panic and the guaranteed crits. That sounds fun, though. I am a generous and thoughtful creature at heart. Okay, Mephisto. Slings and arrows, words hurt, rider. Ah. About the trickery aspect, that stuff can definitely be interesting. There's ways to play with that. I don't think that buff steal is necessarily the best way to do that, but I would want that to be in the kit wherever it ends up. Yes. We would need a full rebuild to do an altered appearance. Those kinds of, like, what you call them, model swaps are a pretty big deal. It's a cool idea. It would take a lot. Yeah, and like we'd really have to look into that because a cold snap mystic is inherently dangerous, given that there is a fair amount of evade in science, and so we would need to really look at that. Maybe we'd classicate it. I don't know, but like put a pin in that. There's some way to make it work, right? There's some way to make frost damage work in mystic, and it would at least be a unique piece of utility in the class, right? A way to answer evade that isn't Sorcerer Supreme's or Dragon Man's slow. I think there's something there. I thought we fixed that. The thing with Zemo triggering his Furies against the node when he prevents an evade? I guess not. Well, maybe next month. Yeah, I could definitely see Loki being interesting on defense as well. Like, I mean, it depends on what we do with it, right? If it's a full rebuild, if we get more art support, then there are more possibilities, right? Because once you go there, I'm like, okay, well, if he's the god of trickery, trickery often involves traps, right? Like you running through an illusion and boom, now you have frostbites on you. Something along those lines, right? Like there's something there. It just depends on how much runway we get. Exactly, Red. That's the kind of stuff I want to play with. In my opinion, we haven't done enough with traps to be interesting, right? We've had root traps, which are neat. We've had mines like Sables and the Makers. And I like the middle ground of Paviter's traps, right? Where they detonate by throwing a buff on you and therefore triggering the rest of his kit. But like there is more space here for more class appropriate traps. Thanks, KJ. Thanks, Atlas. I'm glad you're enjoying him. I'm very happy with how his kit turned out with the traps and everything. That was kind of the big thing I wanted to do with him was like make... I don't want to say make traps fun because that implies previous traps weren't fun, and that's not just me wanting to not be rude. I don't think that's true. I do think previous trap champions have been fun, but I wanted to kind of evolve things a little further, and I'm I'm quite happy with how that turned out. That, my friends, is called breaking the third wall. Well, then good for me that here you're just as vulnerable and balanced as the rest of us. Bravo. I am one of those I don't have a favorite child kind of persons. And like I part of that is because I don't really like ranking things, but part of it is also because, hot take, I'm changeable. And so my mood changes. The answer I tend to give for this kind of thing is that my favorite champion I've built is the one I'm playing right now. And there's a lot of truth in that, right? Because as I play different characters, I'm like, oh yeah, I remember when this part of the kit didn't work, and this was how we solved it, and I'm really happy with how it turned out. Like, good job, me. Like, that sounds kind of egotistical, but that's not really what I mean. It's just kind of like oh yeah, this was a problem. It got solved. It's like rediscovering a favorite flavor that you haven't had in a long time. And yeah, that's the part of the game I like. Thanks for the follow, MFM. Okay, let's get that disorient up. That was a little hairy, how I triggered that evade and didn't get destroyed by the heavy, but worth it. Still struggle with a lot of champions. I mean, yeah, there's a lot of complexity to this game, right? Like, the barrier to entry is quite high. It is something that I would like us to do more combat in the future. I also think that it is, I think in the long run, it is a good thing for the game. That there is so much depth, but... Whoops, why did I do that? Ooh, double kill. Alright, well... Really crushing this one. Trying to articulate a complex thought and getting absolutely destroyed. Point being, you're not alone. I think a lot of people struggle with a lot of champions. And the point is to just keep making progress. Find your fun. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Whoever I'm playing more recently, Medusa, Juggernaut, Jean, Peter. Yeah. Yeah, Dust is also really great. Very cool stuff in that kit. Trying to learn Count Nefaria. Yeah, there's definitely some wrinkles to him. It'll make you better with a lot of special attacks the more that you figure out that evade against, for sure. I don't know why I did that. He only gains the power above a bar. Silly me. Woof. This is not important, but sometimes I wish that that Red Guardian still inflicted the slow at class disadvantage on defense. Not on offense. He doesn't need it on offense. Yeah. Alright. But often I'm fighting him with a skill champion, and I'm like, where's my debuff? I wanted to get rid of it. Hey, Marcy, how's it going? Thank you for the sub. Yeah, Spot is quite tricky. That's a good one to practice with. Thanks for the follows, everybody. Okay, thought I was out of the way for that one. She's not that bad when you're used to her, but yeah, she can catch you off guard for sure. One of the tricks to her is just not letting her do her stuff. If you're aggressive enough, she doesn't have a chance to throw heavies or dash. I know that Photon is a really good Maw counter, but I really want to try Blue Marvel against him in Coliseum. Yeah, he will be significantly better than Photon in Coliseum. She does not have the same kind of scaling. He's going to be fantastic for that fight, and I'm very much looking forward to it. Oh, that stinks. Okay, my Unstoppable blinked out. And went away. I must have accidentally tapped block and canceled it. That's what confused me. That's okay. Point was to get more used to Frank. Yeah, the side quest Coliseum it's very digestible for sure. We're not getting to the special 2 in this fight. Was I able to get used to Frank in the 20 seconds it took for that fight? No, I wouldn't say so, but I feel like I got better. Because I played 2 fights with him. Both of them were pretty dirty, but, like, practice. He has a pretty steep learning curve, and it's been a while since I've tried to play him, but this is exactly where I should be messing with him more. I mean, bluntly, I don't think the boss change. I know they said that the point was so people could get used to new kits in isolation, and they phrased it as a player beneficial thing. And I know I'm about to like ruin that a little bit. That was not the whole point. There's an element of that, sure. Speaking of too much energy. But part of what was going on there is simply that developing those boss nodes every month was a ton of work. And it's not even just that it was a ton of work, it's that it was a ton of playtesting time, which is taking away from everything else that we build for a pretty low return. And so, yeah, just to be completely honest and transparent about it, like, it wasn't just for y'all. It was probably primarily for our sakes. But it was for our sakes in the sense that us having more time to playtest things should lead to a better game for y'all in the long run anyway. So, pretty easy choice, but yeah, I definitely don't think that by itself is an improvement, right? I prefer the bosses having nodes to them. I think other than that, the current format is fine. And I think people are generally enjoying it and liking being able to use synergies again. I do think it is significantly undertuned. Like, if I'm playing Elder with 40k prestige, the opponent should have more health. I'm fine with their attack values staying low. Those feel about right. If I get hit, it hurts, etc., etc. The fights are over too dang quickly. Hey, Crimson. Yeah, game keeps moving, Naruto, for sure. Hey, Silver. Free food never connected to a piece of EQ dialogue more. Yeah, man. Frank's fun kit is super fun to play when I'm feeling it. When I'm off, it all falls apart. Yeah, I still feel like he is worth it overall, but you gotta get used to it. Only thing I'd like to see for those boss fights is a big attack and HP boost. I agree with that. Like, it can be like a medium attack boost and a large HP boost is maybe what I would say, but I am generally with you there. Like, if we're going to get used to them in that context, I understand that's a rank 5 Ascended Patriot. It is big, right? But again, my prestige is 40k. I'm going to have big stuff in my roster. And so I feel like for me, the fact that I didn't even have time to gain 3 bars of power before she was dead is a disappointment. I'm harping on it today, but that is just the thing that I keep feeling over and over and over again. Is that right now EQ is too easy. Yeah, no problem, Marcy. Thanks, Atlas. Yeah, I like talking about this stuff. Okay, let's see who I get today. We have at least one pity poll. That's probably all we're gonna get, because I am not a particularly lucky man. Cool, shards. Oh, we'll also have another super duper pull from this, I expect. Not that it really matters, because it's just going to be the second run through, and so nobody's going to A2, but yeah, progress. Yep, there's 2 more 7 stars. So that's the 1,000 we needed. And then the very next pull will be the pity. Yeah. Dude! For those of you who didn't clock it during the stream, my Jabari is already A2. So that is not an indictment of the character. That is, I would like to pull someone else, please. Yeah, I know it's an investment in the future, but hold on. I have some more things to open, but those of you who haven't seen this before, I still have Zemo, Mojo, Black Panther, Nova, and Toad to pull, who are already not only ascendable, but already rank 4, and all of them are Sig 200. Please give me one of them, right? Or like, I have a spare token of Sam, right? I would love to get him to rank 2. I would love to get Emma to A2. I would love to get Reed or Patriot to A2. But no, instead I have an extra spiral token and an extra penny token that I won't be able to use for like minimum a year. I mean, the RNG isn't broken, right? That's how it works. It happens to me the same as to everyone else, but I am allowed to be frustrated by it. Still no Black Panther, correct. Well, but that's the thing, Bleezy. There would be complaints, but now we have the ability for you to turn your difficulty down. So, I don't care. Turn the difficulty down. Oh, sorry, cat. But no, I wouldn't take that from you. One day we'll have custom profiles, and then you would want your Toad token. It's not a promise, that's just, I hope that one day we finally do that. Nah, Mysterium is the tertiary resource. You're not really supposed to be getting spicy stuff there. That's kind of the long and short of it. Oh, nice, Atlas. That's awesome. Congrats on that. No, that's not the correct response, Major. Like I said, I'm allowed to feel frustration. I'm allowed to want something else. But then I get over it. Oh, you're talking about Mysterium. I thought you were talking about these polls. I was like, it's just RNG, man. Nah, it's fine on Mysterium too. Like, who cares? Just let it expire. There's decent stuff you can get in the store. You should never run out of ISO ever again. If you have the sigil, you can trade some stuff up. But like with the leftover, just let it expire. It doesn't matter. Okay, is wave 2 the one with the Stark relic? Because I do want more of those. I think so, because I think the energy and fizz pen relics were only in the second one. That's not telling me. Fine, we'll do 2 of these. No, the RNG system is not broken. Okay, so I do need to give this. Frustration is natural. Disappointment is natural. But if your response to that frustration and disappointment is to say that a system that was clearly communicated to you before you decided to partake in it needs to change so that you aren't frustrated or disappointed, that is not a particularly developed response to it. Like, sometimes things just don't go your way. It doesn't mean that there's a problem. I've had things not go my way in this game for, let's see, how long has the game been out now? At least 11 years? In the long run, it ends up okay. Alright, no spark relics. No, this is not me speaking as a developer. This is me speaking as a human and as a player, right? I legitimately don't think it's healthy to pick up something defined by randomness, experience randomness, and then turn the blame outward. That's not a recipe for happiness. If that's your response to RNG not working out the way you want, which is an inherent property of RNG, then, like, you probably shouldn't be playing games with RNG. Dude, before I was ever a developer, my first 4 6-star Awakening gems were all skill. I get it. More than most. It happens. I'm probably gonna butcher this, but there's like the psychology term or whatever, like first thought, second thought. It's fine to have a negative first thought, but your second thought should be working through it. It shouldn't be to, like, try and decide who wronged you. Yeah, Zemo. I thought that was you, Andres. How's it going? Is RT... Oh, you're talking about Ruby. Supposed to be an easy defender. No, I think Ruby probably did land a little low on the defense side. I mean, the alternative is if she had landed high, that would not have gone over well. But yeah, I think it is fair to say she came in a little under. Speaking as a human and a player, am I allowed to do that? Does it make any sense to rank up or chase relics apart from prestige? Yes. It's bluntly, it's difficult to notice them, but like this is part of the original reason that we paused relics thon, is that from a design perspective, they are in this uncomfortable no person's land where they are objectively strong. Having a bunch of high level, high rank, high sig, or high innate relics on your best champions makes you stronger, will increase your win rates, will get you through content faster. But they are also difficult to notice, right? Like, it's kind of similar to how one of the best things about the sigil is that it increases your resources. It's not even here. I don't know where it is. But like the sigil increases your resource incomes by 10%, right? It is not sexy to turn 750 Essentia into 825 Essentia, but it's really, really good. And that is basically where relics are. So I would say yes, it is very worth investing in relics. Maybe not over champions, right? I think it's fine for your radiants to go to champions first. But every single week, I am putting Essentia into the tier 2 celestial alloys, into the tier 4 basic alloys. I am making sure my relics move up. And the prestige is part of it, but like relics are a relatively small part of prestige. I actually think the bonuses to the champions are the bigger incentive for me. I may not notice the numbers getting bigger, but I know that on average they are, and so I'm winning more often because of it. And I also completely agree with Kat, right? Like, I probably sound a bit dismissive when I say, like, just let the Mysterium expire. Because I am literally being a bit dismissive. But there is, from a design standpoint, there's an element of it that's exactly what she's saying. If Mysterium can buy endgame resources, then using Mysterium on anything else is arguably a mistake, right? And that was always the case before. You could get those legacy resources in Glory. You could get those legacy resources in Battlegrounds. And you were doing so at a cost to your real, like, endgame roster. And some people did that because it was fun for them, right? There's nothing wrong with being suboptimal. But there is a cost to being suboptimal, especially if you do it repeatedly and over a long time scale. And so the Mysterium store being essentially useless to the end game is a good thing for the people who enjoy ranking up those legacy champions. Yes, it doesn't matter to the rest of us, but that is not necessarily a negative. No, unknown, that's not a broken system. I'm sorry that there's no way for me to phrase this in a way that probably isn't going to be insulting, but like that's you misunderstanding the nature of randomness. When something has a very low chance of it happening, that doesn't mean it shouldn't happen. Right? Like this is a well-studied phenomenon. Humans are one of the things the human brain is best at is pattern recognition, right? Is seeing order in the universe and using that to move forward. But the thing is that our pattern recognition is hyperactive in a lot of ways. It sees patterns where they aren't. It sees order in chaos. Now, you can make a lot of very metaphysical points about that. But this is also leads to, if you ask a human to like write out a random distribution of like heads and tails, it will not be random. Because it will be a lot more even than actual randomness. We avoid clumpings of like heads, 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 but that will happen out there, right? Like another way to put it is that, hold on, let me do the math real quick. I said earlier my first 4 skill gem, or my first 4 6-star gems were all skill, right? That is a 1/6 chance to the 4th power. If we flip that over, that is 1 in, yeah, okay, making sure that that flipped right. That is 1 in 1,300. That's a very low chance, right? The calculator puts it in scientific notation. But that means that 1 in every 1,300 people should have that happen to them. There are hundreds of thousands of people who play this game. The rare stuff should happen. It's not the system being broken. It's just the system being random. Okay, what was I looking at? Oh, yeah. Cool. Nothing we get this round through the box matters. But 4 more pulls, and it'll get real. I wish Mysterium included Tier 5 Basic. I'm with you on that, Easy, and I did recently ask about that. I do think we should add it. And hopefully we do before too long. 8 skill awakening gems? Pretty low. Well, is they're low if it's 8 in a row, right? Like, I know you've opened a lot more than 8 at this point, but for the purposes of this, 8 in a row is 1 in 1.7 million, roughly. Which is low, but like, there are a lot of people playing this game. We've had more than 1.7 million people install the game over the course of its lifetime. That means, again, statistically, it's got to happen to somebody. Precious 3-star crystals. I wouldn't mind us adding 3-star crystals. Yeah, I guess it's only the 3-star battle casts. The others are gone. Yeah, there's no reason for those not to be here, I guess. Well, there's no reason right now for those not to be there, which I know sounds ominous, and maybe it is, but we won't talk about that right now. Somebody asked. Oh yeah, Jude said, "How long have I been playing?" Since I forget the exact month, but somewhere around like February or March, 2015. So not right at launch, but in the first year the game was out. Which, funnily enough, was also plus or minus a month when my wife and I started dating. So she and I have only been together while I've been playing this game, which obviously bothered her a little bit more before I got the job. Yeah, exactly, KJ. Like, a chance is not a pity timer. It's probably an element of that, Silver. But there are some nodes that look like they would be good with her, and I think maybe she could have been a little bit more protected. Let's do our weekly conversion. I'm looking forward to getting Chavez ascended. Opened at least 5 in a row. Yeah. And that's going to be like 1 in 7,000. There's a lot more than 7,000 people out there. How much loyalty does this cost? Yeah, I can do that once. I've been a little bit more precious with the loyalty conversion than the others, which I think makes sense. Yeah, these are the purchases I do every single week, and then from there, I decide. Five-star shards instead of crystals. Yeah, I think I'm with you there as well, because it is nice to be able to grab those. Am I on dust? Okay, I'm at 1,200. I don't feel like I need to buy the dust at the moment. Okay, we got new relics. I know I can take him up with the gem, but I don't want to use the gem. Okay, we're missing... I buy these, like, every week. It's a massive blessing, trust me. That's really funny. I mean, my wife and I met 2 years before we started dating, so she has a bit of a frame of reference, but like, I think the first time she saw me, I was in the practice room on the ground floor of our freshman dorm playing trombone while other people were like chilling. So like from the beginning, she knew I was that kind of nerd, right? That's that was priced in. Okay, I think I won't buy those until it matters. Not yet. It's not like we're rolling in Essentia. Let me check on the relics real quick. Okay, I could take a relic to rank 2. Then we probably want to go ahead and take the Hulkling one up. Double checking. Where's my... Okay, my relic prestige is 2393. Let's see what this does. Clown tried to convince me to rank 5 Sandman. He's good, dude. He's very good these days. Saints are there all along. Oh, yeah. It is always... And this might be TMI for some of you, because you didn't ask. But, like, it has always been the case for me that, like... I don't think I'm attractive to the majority of women. But there is a type that I have always been attractive to, and I just am comfortable with that, you know? Okay, it did go up. What was that, 15 points? Nice. How many action figures are left? That's probably a cat question, because I tend to miss these things. But I don't think I have yet. And so if I'm at 60, that means there's probably about 50 or so free ones left. Hey, PK. Sorry, I moved away from Twitch chat for a minute. Mutant class doesn't have any pure defenders, although mutant defenders are also cracked attackers. I mean, yeah, I think that's these days largely an indictment of Onslaught being too strong on offense. Jean was intended as a two-way. I guess Betsy was probably... Betsy's too strong. Yeah, Betsy's just too strong. It's cool that she has a long-form kit. I think she is objectively overtuned from what her targets are in terms of Coliseum. So yeah, it's... I think you're right. I think that is largely because the big mutant defenders came in too hot on offense. No, Dust was intended to have a little bit of both. I wouldn't consider her a pure defender. I think she landed pretty much where we wanted. Little stronger on defense than intentional. I think that's not controversial to say, but within the bounds. What would be the odds of getting consecutive 50 heads in a coin flip? I mean, that one's pretty simple, right? It's 0.5 to the 50th power. I mean, it's low. We can do the math real quick. 0.5 50th invert. It's a big freaking number. Let's see, what is that? Million, billion, trillion, quadrillion? Like roughly 1 in 1 quadrillion. Big number. And so, like, that's not likely to happen. But the other thing is that if you flip coins enough, it's the kind of thing that can happen. That's the important thing for understanding stats. Stop reminding me that I still keep forgetting to put together the graphic. It's okay, Kat. You can remind me that I have a lot of videos I need to make. I duped my wife when she met me. I was a D1 football player who did two-a-days and presented extremely extroverted. Now my idea of a good time, see how much dairy I can eat. Dude, so I'm not working today, and there's a very good chance that immediately after this, I'm going to head downstairs, take a Lactaid, and open up the Tillamook strawberry. So I feel you, dude. Okay. I think that is enough for today, so I'm going to go ahead and shut off the... Yeah, probably news, guys. Absolutely. I'm going to shut off the YouTube live stream, but thank y'all for hanging out, and I'll talk to y'all soon, and I'm going to find somebody to raid on Twitch to keep things rolling. Alright, see y'all YouTube peeps later.